maybe it's a grievance, or you feel you were unfairly treated on a certain matter, whether it's, all sorts of different reasons, ethnicity, faith, gender, any of those that you felt maybe discriminated towards. This is a body that would have a bunch of different resources that would be able to point you in the right direction. If you remember, like a great example of something that they could take initiative of last year, if you remember, or a few years ago with the Plenza sculpture, and there was a discussion about some of the letters with the Plenza sculpture. This commission may would have coordinated maybe like a public discussion about that for the public to become more aware about what's going on. So they'll be doing a lot of educational events centered around some of those human relations that I'm talking about.
And it would be made up of volunteers on the commission too. Yeah.
Was there a commission that we created when we became a sanctuary village?
Nothing was created.
We passed a resolution for that. So, but a lot of
there was like a human rights.
Well, a lot of the folks that were behind that, I know, have certainly provided some suggestions as far as the ordinance language that created the Human Relations Commission.
That initiative probably is what made the Human Relations Commission resurface again.
And when it was first talked about, it had a slightly different name. So if you're recollecting a different name, it might have. I think it's probably the same thing.
Pardon?
There's no Human Rights Commission.
No, there's not. And then, the stormwater infrastructure. This has really been ongoing since the infamous floods back in 2010. We've done a lot of work since then. The northwest side of the community has been pretty much complete. The northeast is pretty well done right now, and there wasn't that much to actually do in the southwest portion. But the big thing that's left is the southeast portion of the village right now, to try to make sure that we alleviate future flooding problems there. We've been very fortunate not having any of these 10-inch rains or anything like that. That's basically what happened back in 2010. It was a week apart too. We had flooding one week and then even bigger flooding the following week. We're going through an implementation of a recycling collection contract. There's going to be new carts. When are those going to be start to be delivered?
I believe end of March.
Okay.
Is the timeline right now.
So we're in an education process right now to make sure everybody knows what's going on with the recycling. And then the big thing that we're going to be involved with is the 2019 budget. And indeed, if you look at probably the two most important things that the village board works on every year, or at all times, is the budget and the selection and evaluation of the village manager. Those are really our two biggest responsibilities, to come up with a good village manager, which I think we are feeling very good about right now. She's been on board since November. And then we've got the work cut out for us starting in July, August, when we start really getting busy on the budget. So let's see if we got more in here. I missed.
I got it.
Yeah, thanks. I hit the up one rather than the down one.
Okay.
Okay, this is just a slide to talk about other, or just to point out other elected, appointed, and contracted officials. I mentioned the municipal judge before. We also have a village attorney. We have a village assessor, which is a contracted position. Really, our village attorney is a contracted position too. And then we've got the Community Development Authority, the Business Improvement District, and then a myriad of volunteer boards, committees, and commissions that some of you may be on already, and if you're not, get your applications in, because we're always looking for people. It's just marvelous in Shorewood to see the amount of people that are involved in the community. So, that's it for me. Any questions? I did mention, I've been on the board for 20 years and been on president for 12 years, but I'm not rerunning this April, so I'm finally going to give up the ghost town.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you.
It's been a great run.
Well, thank you, President Johnson, for attending and for your service. I'm going to have our village clerk, Sarah Bruckman, finish the night. Sarah just started as a clerk in November, so she has hit the ground running, especially with a few elections coming up. So I will give her the floor, and after her presentation, we're all done for tonight.
Perfect. I will try to keep you as close to 8 o'clock as possible. And feel free if you have any questions to contact Village Hall. I can answer by email or telephone at any time. Or if you really want to know about the election process, feel free to volunteer to be a poll worker. So, this is kind of a quick pyramid of what the election piece looks like in Wisconsin. So at the top, we have the state of Wisconsin legislator, our Wisconsin Elections Commission, who is great support to our county and municipal clerks, and then our chief inspectors and election inspectors. Here's some of the pieces, just as a municipal clerk, that just around election time that we handle. So we work with voters, answering questions, helping them to be sure if they're registered, and if not, what documentation they need to become registered, educating them on any new rules or laws. And as we know, a couple years ago, those laws were quick to change in an overnight period. So that has kind of slowed down to a trickle for now. We attend training. We train our election workers and other staff in the office so they're aware and can answer questions. Another thing, we process any new voter registrations, including those mail and in-person, and on election day. We'll get to a slide to show some statistics of how many registrations we can pull in within a bigger election year, which is typically your even years. Maintaining the accuracy of the voter information in WISPO, which is our statewide voter registration system and database. And then we mail or email absentee ballots to voters, issue absentee ballots in person in office, so if anybody needs to vote in person right now, it is happening. And then we help on election day to make sure things run smoothly. We're very reliant on our fabulous chief inspectors and poll workers, but we are there for them if they need any assistance on that day. And then after the election is really when a municipal clerk is doing a chunk of their work. So when everybody thinks it's over, we're still putting in a good amount of time. And I'm just going to quick brief through this because you have your beautiful blue book that's been given to you. So we are U.S. Senate District Wisconsin, U.S. Congressional District 4, Assembly District 10, Senate District 4, Milwaukee County Supervisory District 3, and we do have 2 school districts kind of that we vote for in Shorewood. So there's about 6 addresses that vote for the Whitefish Bay School District. That is about it. So it's a very small little corner of the village.
Those are those apartments at the Cornerstone.
Yep. Yep. So there's literally 6
on the-
apartments.
The 6 apartments on the north, right above the restaurant, what's it called? North Star.
North Star Beach Road.
So there's 6 addresses that in April, if there's a school board election, that they have a different ballot. They don't vote for Shorewood School District, they vote for Whitefish Bay School District.
I'll give you the reason for that. Okay, we annexed a portion of Whitefish Bay for that development, and we paid Whitefish Bay the net present value of future tax stream for that. But the Whitefish Bay School District said, I don't think we want to do that. So those remained in the Whitefish Bay School District, where those 6 apartments are.
Just for the school district?
Just for the school district, everything else votes a normal Shorewood ballot that everyone else is voting. So it's just the school district, and it's just the April ballot. There's 12 wards, 3 polling locations. One is here, one is Lake Bluff Elementary School, and the other is the high school. This is what our ward map looks like. It is available online if anybody would really like to study it in detail. Some of the things, as far as clerk and poll workers, we do have training requirements. So as a municipal clerk, we are required to have 12 hours of training in a 2-year period, just on elections alone. Poll workers are required to have 3 hours of training in a 2-year period. And then for each election, we do equipment testing and security checks just to make sure. So we do a pre-test and then we do a public test to make sure that all of your results will be accurate at the end of the evening. And we do everything in dual control, so nothing is ever done alone. It's always done in at least pairs, and we do keep our polling places in odd numbers. Some of the requirements to be a poll worker, you actually just have to live in Milwaukee County. So it used to be a requirement that you had to be a resident of your municipality in order to be a poll worker. With the growing population, they were finding it very hard to just say that you could only be, a poll worker in your municipality. So they did open that up about 4 years ago to say that as long as you were a resident of the county that you were in, you could be a poll worker. So I do know we have some residents that moved out of Shorewood and still are very faithful to be poll workers in the village. So they are still residents of Milwaukee County. If you want to know how to apply, you can go to our website or you can give me a call and I'll be happy to set you up. Odd number of years, usually there's just a February and April election unless a special election or recall comes up. Even number of years, which is this year, we have February, April, August, and November election. So there is an election happening on February 20th. And then our next one will be April 4th. February 20th is just Justice of the Supreme Court this time. So all of your local items will actually be on the April ballot for trustee and president and school board. So these are just the lists. And then we'll have one in August and November, which will be the governor's election this year. Spring elections are nonpartisan offices except for the presidential preference, which is held in April. And local offices such as village trustees and school board members. Primary for nonpartisan offices are held only when there are more than twice as many candidates as running for the seat. So if you vote for 2 and you can have up to 3 candidates on the ballot, once it hits 4, then a primary would be required. Fall elections are partisan offices such as president and governor. So this is just kind of a voter statistic turnout, which I would kind of excited to see after 18, the dips again as well. So typically in the even years, you will see turnout spike, which is normal. So we kind of always say our odd years are the years that we're probably going to get a little more work done in the office because elections run a little slower. So in April, it's around 30% in an odd year, and in even year, it runs almost 70%. So I would say our April turnout will be quite large this year. Along with voter registration. So the numbers on the left are actually registrations we took on election day. And then numbers to the right are non-election day registrations. So anything we took in the office prior to an election. So in the even years, it will go up quite a bit. It's been fairly consistent this year. We haven't seen a huge spike, but the Wisconsin Elections Commission is really working to be able to register, that you can register online now, and they can automatically do a DMV check on the back to make sure you are who you are, saying that you're registering. So it's helping us with that process immensely. Absentee voting, obviously 2016, the increase of absentee voting in person or by mail. These are the statistics for it. So in November of 16, there was almost 5,000 absentee ballots alone issued. that number will probably be just as close again this November as well. And I would say same for the April election, it'll probably be near the 2,000 mark as well. So there's dips and spikes in every year.
So what is a percentage of the total number we're absentee in, just a ballpark?
Yeah, I would say it's roughly 25%. So I come from a municipality that almost 50% of their people voted absentee. And we did what was called central count because we could be sitting till midnight, 1 o'clock in the morning. So if you're ever, if your election results aren't posted yet, a lot of the times it's because we are still processing absentee ballots. Nothing's wrong at the polls, everything's good, but if we are super busy, it's taking the time to run that absentee process and get those ballots through the machine. The other concern with absentee balloting is we have to determine voter intent. So if a ballot spits out that there is a mark on it, or somebody voted for more than one office and they shouldn't have, we have to try to determine that intent. There is a bill sitting right now, and I'm not quite sure where it's at, which would allow